Okay, so we are now on the input VAT. Okay, continuation na ito ng input VAT natin. Ayan. Okay, so we'll begin first with the importation of goods. Ayan. Ito yung mga sources ng input VAT natin. We have purchase or importation of goods. Ayan. This will be subject to cross-border doctrine. Okay. Then purchase of real properties for which a VAT has already been paid. Purchase of services in which VAT has actually been paid. Transactions deemed sale. We already discussed this one in the previous topics. Okay. Then we have transitional input tax. Okay. So this transitional input tax and presumptive input tax are incentives from the government. These are not actually input but because of the certain event na binigay sa atin siya as incentives from the government. Transitional and presumptive. We have also input tax on depreciable goods or your PPE. Okay, meron tayong rulings for that. And meron siyang additional rules for train law. Okay? Next is the input tax on government sales. Then after that, we are going to solve a simple problem and allocation of input on mixed transactions. Okay? Ayan. So we'll begin with the purchase or importation of goods. Ayan. So when we say importation class, it is an act of bringing the goods into the Philippines from a foreign country. So ayan lang. From nag-i-import tayong mag-i-import, tayo ang bibili, okay, ng goods from abroad papunta dito sa Pilipinas. Now, may input tax yan. Sir, nabanggit mo kanina na this is subject to cross-border doctrine. Yes. Kasi under the cross-border doctrine, the tax, VAT can only be imposed within its territory. Now, sir, on the part of the foreign country, that is export, di ba? On the part of our, that is import. Okay. So, bakit siya na may input tax, sir? It's because ang importation of good is VAT is a consumption tax. Meaning, kung sino yung end user niyan, okay, siya yung nag-bear, okay, ng input tax or ng VAT. Kasi kaya kayo, the moment na binili nyo yan, in-import nyo yan, that is susceptible for input VAT. Okay? Okay. I forgot to share screen. Wait lang. Ayan. So, okay. So, next tayo. Ayan, importation. Kakasimula pa lang naman natin. Now, all importations of goods in the Philippines are subject to VAT whether or not intended for business. So, therefore, sir, kahit na ano, mm, kahit na hindi ginagamit sa business, as long as importation siya, magiging subject na siya for VAT, right? Okay. So except those mentioned under Section 109 of the NIRC. So the VAT is 12% pa din on importation of goods on the value used by the Bureau of Customs in determining the tariff and custom duties plus custom duties and excise taxes. Ang binibigay kasi minsan invoice cost. Pero on the invoice cost, hahanapan pa tayo ng customs duties. Other that is part of your total invoice and custom duties. Aside from customs duties, pwede nating i-add din si excise tax and other penalties if ever. Okay? Pero kapag invoice cost lang ang binigay, okay, wag niyo nang hanapin yung si customs duties, si excise tax. Mas pinadali niya yung solving ninyo. Okay? Pero kapag wala naman, so invoice cost would suffice. Okay? Ayan. Where the custom duties are determined on the basis of the quantity or volume of the goods, the value added tax shall be based on the landed cost plus excise taxes if there are any. If there are any. Okay? Ayan. So, Ano yung mga examples ng purchase or importation of goods? Yung mga items for sale natin, that is in the ordinary course of the business. For conversion into intended form of a finished product for sale, including packaging materials. Okay. Next, for use as supplies in the course of the business. So, ito, for the business purpose talaga ito. For use of materials supplied in the sale of the business, for use in trade or business for which deduction or depreciation or amortization is allowed under the code. But, okay, let me just reiterate to you or repeat it na, okay, whether or not intended for the business is subject to input tax on importation. Okay? So, ayan. Madali lang naman kasi ang tax base niya is 12%. Kukunin mo lang talaga yung vatable base niya. Okay? Invoice plus excise plus customs duties and other penalties and interest. I-add mo yan before mo i-multiply by 12%. Okay? Ayan. So we have this purchase of real properties for which a VAT has actually been paid. So natakal na natin to sa output VAT, itong VAT on sale of real properties. Okay, alam na natin kung anong rulings nito, di ba? Pwede siyang maging installment sale, pwede din siyang maging cash or deferred sale. Pero kailangan nating bantayan if the initial payments is 25%, di ba? Kasi yan yung magiging ano natin. So pero yun is sa seller na perspective, ngayon buyer. Okay? So kung ano yung nabili natin na real property, in cash man yan or in installments, kapag cash naman, hindi na natin siya i-defer. The moment na binayaran mo siya ng cash, that's the time na you could also claim input tax. Okay, remember every month tayo nagbabayad ng VAT. Okay? Aside from that, services which a VAT has actually been paid is also a source of your input tax. Yan, okay? So, transactions deemed sale, alam na natin 'tong mga transactions deemed sale, right? Ito yung mga hindi naman talaga sale pero considered siya um, as sale under the law. Okay, yung mga transfer, cessation of business, 'di ba? Okay, yung inventories na under consignment na nag-exceed na or hindi pa nabebenta within 60 days. Ayun, those are transactions that are deemed sale. Ayan. Ano pa ba ang hindi ko na-mention sa transaction deemed sale? Transfer, cessation of business. Payments to creditors, okay? Ayan, payments to creditors, if may distribution of profit share, ayan. Consumption of inventory na hindi mo binenta, halimbawa binigay mo lang as a price, ayun, that is transaction deemed sale. Nag-retire na, okay? Halimbawa, nag-incorporate yung single proprietorship, ayan, cessation of status. Yung remaining inventory nun is will become form or considered as deemed sales. Ayan. And sales of scrap materials. Ano yung mga hindi deemed sales? If ever, may mga mergers and consolidations. And the inventory is used for promotions and office supplies to avail tax credit. So, tatandaan nyo lang yung mga um, items na are deemed sale according to the tax code. Okay? So, ayan. Actually, wala namang mahirap sa pag-identify kasi very identifiable talaga si transactions deemed sale. Basta hindi mo siya nabenta pero na-dispose mo siya in any other manner. Okay? Like, nag-distribute ka ng inventory, kinonsume mo, hindi mo binenta. So, that is deemed sale under the tax code. So, next is transitional input tax. Sabi ko kanina, these are incentives, actually incentives given by the tax code or given by the provision. Kasi nga, wala naman talagang input tax dito. Okay? For example, dito sa transitional, okay, from the word transition, nag-change ka lang ng status. Okay? Siguro dati, non-VAT ka. So, pag non-VAT ka kasi, walang VAT yung mga purchases mo, right? So, therefore, nung na time na nag-exceed na ng 3 million yung threshold mo, you are now mandated or mandatory to um, you are mandatory na mag-register ka ng VAT registration. Ngayon, yung mga inventories mo before ka nag-register ng VAT, that is that is subject to transitional input tax. Yung mga inventory mo noong hindi ka pa VAT registered. Okay? So that's transitional. Okay? Input tax credit allowed to person who becomes liable to VAT or any person who elects to be a VAT registered person. Or kung hindi ka naman mandatory na register ng VAT, ikaw mismo nag-volunteer ka. You elected to choose VAT, okay? To register. So the allowed input tax shall be whichever is higher, okay? Between 2% of the value of the taxpayer's beginning inventory of any goods, materials, and supplies. So, 2% yan na sa beginning inventory or the actual value added tax paid on such goods. So, magko-compare pa tayo nito. Yung actual niya at saka 2% ng VAT ng beginning inventory. So, identify mo muna yung beginning inventory ng goods, 2% niyan, plus value added tax or the lower, okay? Ko-compare mo lang. Choose mo lang yung lower ba to higher? Ay, ito higher pala. Okay? Higher. And take note class, input tax are deductions, di ba? Deduction siya sa VAT output. Which means, kapag malaki ang input VAT mo, liliit yung output VAT mo. So, this is the only deductions under the tax code na whichever is higher. Pansinin nyo, kasi kapag deduction, di ba, ayaw ng gobyerno yan, ayaw ng batas niyan. So, kapag deduction, whichever is lower. So, parang trivia lang to sa inyo, guys, ha? Siya lang ang nag-iisang deduction sa tax code na whichever is higher. Okay? Kasi usually, whichever is lower talaga tayo. Ayan. So, taxpayers who became VAT-registered person shall be entitled to transitional input tax on the inventory on the hand as of the effectivity of their VAT registration on the following. So, we have goods purchased for resale. Ayan. We have materials purchased for further processing, but which have not yet undergone processing. Okay, goods which have been manufactured by the taxpayer. Okay. Goods in process for sale, goods and supplies for the use in the course of the taxpayer's trade or business as a VAT-registered person. Okay? Patandaan nyo lang yan. Note, transitional input tax credit may only be availed once. Okay? Hindi po siya always. Okay? Kasi nga, once ka lang din naman mag-transition. Okay? The moment na nag-VAT registered ka, okay. So, irrevocable yan, di ba, for 3 years. Pero for example, hindi ka naman talaga VAT registered na mandated pero nag-avail ka lang. So, after niyan, kahit na non-VAT ka, after 3 years, irrevocable kasi yan 3 years, you cannot avail this one. Okay? Kasi nga na-avail mo na siya on the first attempt. Okay? It may be carried over to the next taxing period until fully utilized. So, pwede pa naman din siya ma-carry over. Ayan, that's in transitional input tax. Okay? So, proceed tayo. We have presumptive input tax. Okay? So, when we say presumptive input tax, this is an input tax credit allowed to persons engaged in a processing of, okay, so sardines, mackerel, at saka milk. Or kung hindi naman processor, we have manufacturer of refined sugar, okay, cooking oil, packed noodle-based instant meals. Okay, remember this one ha. Mapapansin ninyo, ipaprocess using sardinas, mackerel, okay, or milk. Magmamanufacture ka ng refined sugar, cooking oil, packed noodle-based instant meals. Okay. Ayan. So this amount is allowed by the tax code as input tax on purchases of a VAT registered person despite there is no actual VAT payment made on VAT exempt transactions. Yung mga ginamit dito na ingredients class, okay, sa sardinas, mackerel, sugar, pack noodle based instant meals na ingredients na VAT exempt, wala naman kayong makukuha dyan, di ba, na input VAT. Kasi binili mo siya from the very moment, since VAT exempt yung mga um, VAT exempt yung mga items na in original state, 'di ba? Naalala niyo 'yun. 'Di ba exempt 'yun? So the moment na binili natin yung mga gulay, ayun, na in original state, mga agricultural products, tapos gagamitin nating ingredients sa pag-process ng sardinas, 'di ba? Sa sardinas, for example, tomatoes. Hindi yung tomatoes na process ha, kasi kapag processed tomatoes, that is subject to VAT. Ang ginamin ko dito is yung halimbawa kamatis na hihiwain pa talaga on its original state pa ha. So, yung kamatis na yun, wala yung VAT, 'di ba? Pero dahil gagamitin siyang ingredient sa pag-process ng sardinas, okay? Magiging ano siya, presumptive input VAT. Okay? So the point of view here is original state yung mga ingredients, so walang input VAT, pero under the tax code bibigyan natin yan ng 4% presumptive VAT. So we are presuming na lalagyan natin siya ng tax. Ano lang ba sir ang mabibigyan ng input VAT nito? On the purchases of VAT exempt primary agricultural products. Okay, sa libro ninyo under kay Valencia, primary agricultural and marine products class. Okay? Ayan. Pero may nabasa ako sa tax code, agricultural products lang. Okay? So hindi ko pa alam kung ano yung magiging ano natin, pero I will go with the tax code na agricultural products. Okay, wala namang sinabi sa libro marine. Sige lang, I will give another information lang kung ano yung pinaka dapat piliin, baka lalabas sa exam no. Pero I believe agricultural products. Kasi yung mga agricultural products are tax exempt. 'Di ba? VAT exempt yan sila. Kasi nasa original state yan, yung mga agricultural products. Okay, the term processing shall mean pasteurization, canning, and activities through physical or chemical process, alter the exterior texture, form, or inner substance of a product in such manner as to prepare it for special use, okay, to which it could not have been put in its original form or condition. Okay, so that's presumptive VAT. Ano ang percentage ng presumptive VAT? 4% on the gross value, okay, of money of their purchase of primary agricultural products. Oh, agricultural products lang talaga. Okay? Sa libro nyo kasi, agricultural and marine products, okay, which are used as inputs of their production. Okay, tapos na tayo sa presumptive tsaka transition. Dito tayo sa input tax on capital goods. Okay. So input tax on capital goods, ito talks about your property, plant, and equipment or depreciable goods, di ba? Where a VAT registered person purchase or inputs capital goods, which are depreciable assets for income tax purposes. Okay. So the aggregate acquisition cost within a calendar month. Ito, sabi niya, within a calendar month or within 1 month, okay, exceeds 1 million. Halimbawa, nag-purchase ka ngayon June 1, June 15, nag-purchase ka na naman ng property, June 18, nag-purchase ka na naman. June 20, nag-purchase ka na naman. Tapos ang aggregate nun is 1 million. Regardless of the acquisition cost of each capital goods. Okay, basta i-aggregate mo lang, i-total mo lang lahat ng PPE mo within 1 month. It shall be claimed as credit against output tax in the following manner. So, hindi agad-agad siya um, i-charge as input tax during the month. So, may amortization tayong mangyayari. Lalong-lalo na if the useful life of the capital good is 5 years or more. So, kung 5 years or more, ilang months ba yan? I think 60. 'Di ba? 60 months. Okay? Ayan. So, the input tax shall be spread evenly over a period of 60 months and the claim for input tax credit will commence in the calendar month when the capital good is acquired. Now, sir, okay, so for example, 1 million times 12. Um, so times 12%, may 120,000 ako dyan. Tapos, ang estimated useful life ng capital good is 5 years. So, may 60 months ako na i-amortize yung 120,000 na input tax ng PP ko. Yes, tama yun. What if, sir, ang useful life ng capital good is 6 years, 7 years, 9 years? Okay, sabi ng batas, it will be spread evenly over a period of 60 months. Okay? Hanggang 60 months lang. Okay? Hindi na tayo sa sobra. Ayan. So, what if the estimated useful life of the capital good is less than? Okay, halimbawa 4 years, 3 years. The input tax shall be spread evenly on the monthly basis by dividing the input tax. I-divide mo ang input tax by the actual number of months comprising the estimated useful life of the capital good. So therefore, um, i-spread mo evenly until lang doon sa useful life ng asset. Okay? Kasi less than 5 years. So, hindi siya mag-i-exceed ng 60 months. So, sir, meron pa tayong hindi na discuss. What if, sir, hindi nag-exceed ng 1 million? 'Di ba? Sabi dito kasi kapag mag-i-exceed. Kapag mag-exceed ng 1 million, isi-spread over natin siya until 60 months. Okay? Or kapag 5 years or more, or until doon sa life niya, if it less than 5 years. So kapag hindi nag-exceed ng 1 million class, that is, immediately, i-recognize natin yung input tax on the year of sale. Okay? Intindihan niyo? So that is the rulings. Pero class, may binigay na bagong si train law. Okay? Paki-ano na lang paki-jot down na lang. Etong amortization ng capital goods ng input tax on capital goods is hanggang December 31 lang, 2021. So sir, 2021 naman ngayon, hanggang December. Okay? So hanggang December lang pala tayo ano, mag spread over. So sir, after 2021, hindi na ba pwede? Okay, makinig muna kayo. If ang purchase mo is December December 31, 2021, tapos na-exceed ng 1 million, patuloy pa din, okay? Kahit na 2022 na. Okay, kasi pasok kayo dito eh. Pero kapag ang purchase ng equipment mo is next year, for example, 2022 na. Okay, next year 2022. So, nag-purchase ka ng equipment. So after niyan, hindi mo na siya i-spread over. Immediately mo siya recognize under the train law. Sir, yung December 31, 2021, kasi hindi pa naman yan purchase 2022, so patuloy mo pa din siya allocate every month until 60 months. Walang problema diyan. Yung issue lang natin doon under the train law, sana nagti-take note kayo ha. Ang issue lang natin under the train law, kapag ang purchase is next year, 2022, wala na siyang amortization. Okay? So, halimbawa sir, wala naman pala siya yung amortization. What if may VAT refund? i-carry over natin. What if mas mataas ang input VAT kaysa sa output VAT? I-carry over natin. Basta lang, wag lang i-amortize or spread evenly over 60 months. Kapag mga purchases yan next year. Pero ngayon, halimbawa ngayon nag-purchase, ulitin ko ulit, patuloy pa din kasi ang date of purchase man ang binabantayan natin. Okay, so sana maliwanag yan. Next tayo, input tax on government sales. Okay, so government sales. Ang tawag natin dito is standard input VAT, right? Okay. So the government or any of its political subdivisions, instrumentalities, or agencies, including GOCC, shall before making the payment on account of its purchase of goods, tax at 12%, shall deduct and withhold a final VAT of 5% of the gross payment. Now, government ang customer mo nito. Government, okay? Ang customer. Input tax ang government salesman, okay? So, kapag si government, yung nag-purchase, so magbabayad siya ng selling price plus 12%, pero sa 112% na yun, mag-withhold siya ng 5% gross payment. Kuha niyo yun? So sa 112% na including VAT, hindi 112 ang ibibigay niya. Okay? Babawas siya, mag-withhold siya ng 5% of the gross payment. The payment for the lease or use of properties or property rights to non-resident owners shall be subject to 12% withholding tax at the time of payment. Now, the 5% of the final withholding rate shall represent the net VAT payable to the seller. The remaining 7% effectively accounts for the standard input VAT to sales of goods or services to government or any of its political subdivisions, instrumentalities, agencies, including GOCCs, in lieu of actual input VAT directly attributable to ratably apportioned to such sales. Now, okay, pwede tayong mag-ano dito. Output VAT. Di ba ang output is 12%? Now, ito ang standard input VAT. Okay. Ayan. So, let's say ito yung creditable with ito yung na withheld. Okay, 5%. Kaya na-derive ang 7%. Okay? So, 7% na lang yung magiging input VAT natin sa government kasi winidheld niya naman yung 5. Okay? So, kaya 7 na lang. Kasi dapat 'di ba 12? So, winidheld ang 5. So, ang magiging natin, input VAT natin on the government sales is 7%. Kaya, para pa ding zero yung VAT payable natin on purchases, okay, or sales to government. Ayan. Okay, I hope naging maliwanag yan. So, what about if we are going to allocate input tax on mixed transactions? Okay. So, ito lang yung magiging guidance natin kapag mixed business transactions. Ano ba yung instances nito, sir? Kapag may domestic sales ka to VAT registered, tapos may sales ka to export sales, that is zero rated transaction sales, 'di ba? Vatable siya pero zero. Okay? Hindi ibig sabihin na wala siyang VAT. May VAT pero zero lang. May sales ka din sa mga VAT exempt sales. For example, non-VAT registered yung nabentahan mo. Okay. So yun, mixed transactions yun. So anong magiging effect? So kapag may mga untraceable input VAT kasi tayo, halimbawa, lalong-lalo na kapag yan due to purchase of capital goods. Ayan. So, mag-a-allocate pa tayo. Yan yung problema. Okay? Pero, kapag wala namang allocation, yung ire-record lang natin as VAT in the computation of the net VAT payable is yung intended lang sa domestic sales or yung mga VAT registered sales. Okay? Na VAT to VAT registered. Okay, sir, yung export sales, i-apply natin yun for tax refund or TCC. Yung TCC was actually discussed previously. So sana naintindihan niyo pa yon or naalala. Okay. How about yung mga sir, input VAT na chargeable sa mga VAT exempt sales? Okay. VAT exempt. So saan niyo siya ilalagay? VAT payable pa din ba siya, sir? Hindi. It will be charged as your operating expenses. More specifically sa cost of goods sold. Okay? So yun yung papupuntahan niya. Ayan. So a registered person who is engaged in transactions not subject to VAT shall be allowed to recognize input tax on credit on transactions subject to VAT as follows. All input taxes, okay, lahat, that can be directly attributed to transactions subject to VAT. Okay. VAT subject siya. Be recognized for input tax credit provided that the input tax which are directly attributable to VAT taxable sales of goods or services from government or any of its political subdivisions instrumentalities including GOCCs shall not be credited against output taxes arising from sales to non-government entities. Any input tax, if any input tax cannot be directly attributed to VATable or VAT exempt transaction. Okay, ito yung bantayan natin kasi may gagawin tayo. The input tax shall be prorated to the VATable transaction and VAT exempt transactions. Okay. Maibibigay kasi yung mga problem na identifiable kung kanino ba siya, VAT exempt ba siya, or VATable transaction. So mag-prorate tayo. Saan natin i-base, sir? Sa selling price nila na walang VAT. Okay? Walang VAT ha. Okay, doon tayo magpro-prorate tas i-multiply natin yung untraceable input VAT doon. Okay? So yung para sa VAT taxable, okay, makakatulong 'yon to lessen the VAT payable kasi malilesen. Okay? Only the rateable portion pertaining to transactions subject to VAT may be recognized as input tax credit. So, klaro tayo dyan. Yung nasa VATable lang, yun yung pwede nating magamit as input tax credit at hindi itong VAT exempt. Etong consideration dito, mapupunta to sa OPEX. Okay? Input tax attributable to VAT exempt sales shall not be allowed as credit against the output tax, should be treated as the cost of goods sold. Ayun no. Okay, klaro tayo dyan. Yung mga hindi kasama or mga VAT exempt sales na may input VAT, okay, chargeable yun sa cost of goods sold. Okay? Determination of the output tax VAT payable in computation, alam na natin to, di ba? To compute for your VAT payable, output VAT less input VAT. Any excess will be carried over. Okay? Ano yung rules in computing the VAT? Output VAT, if the output tax exceeds the input, okay, the excess shall be paid by the VAT registered person. That is VAT payable. However, if the input VAT exceeds output VAT, the excess shall be carried over. Okay? Ayan, carried over yan. Until fully utilized. The output tax is equal to input tax, wala kang VAT na babayaran if equal yung dalawa. Okay, carried over tayo ha, except export sales. Zero rated kasi yun. Okay? Ayan. Any input tax attributable to the purchase of capital goods or zero rated sales may at this option be refunded. Okay, yun yung sabi ko na hindi pwedeng ma-carried over. Kasi pwede silang mag-apply ng TCC or tax credit certificate, okay, against the other internal revenue taxes. Ayan, dito tayo. Withholding system for value-added tax. Sino yung withholding agent at ano yung i-withhold natin? For the payment of services, purchase of goods of services, ayan, pay seller, payer buyer tayo, or trade. Okay. Ayan, more than one payer buyer, 12%, 12% yan. Sino yung withholding agent? Government or any of its subdivisions, instrumentalities, or agencies. Or private corporations including individuals, estates, and trusts, whether large or non-large taxpayers. So, dito, kung sino yung may business or yung VAT registered entity, siya yung magwi-withhold. Kasi siya yung magbabayad ng tax, okay, or ng VAT payable doon sa BIR. Okay, what if purchase of goods by government or purchase of services 5%. Ito yung creditable kanina. Ito yung withhold ng government na 5. Kaya naging 7% na lang ang standard input VAT because of the withholding na 5%. Okay, may advance payment si value added tax, pwede siya. Okay, basahin niyo na lang 'to. Basta kapag mga payments for refined sugar, sale of flour, transport of naturally grown implanted timber products, okay, and sale of jewelry. Sino yung magki-claim? Any VAT registered person whose sales are zero rated or effectively zero rated. VAT registered person may apply for the issuance of tax credit certificate. Ito, manner of giving the refund. Okay, palaki natin ha. So any VAT registered person, ito yung TCC ha. Ulitin natin. Or effectively zero rated may within 2 years after the close. 2 years ha. Ayan. After the close of the quarter, when sales are made, apply the issuance of TCC, okay, or refund or creditable input tax due or paid attributable on such sales, except transitional, okay, hindi pwede ha. Transitional input tax, okay, to the extent that such input tax has not been applied against output tax. Hindi pa siya na-offset, kumbaga. The commissioner shall grant refund or issue the tax credit certificate or creditable input taxes within 120 days. Okay, dapat within 120 days na approve na yan from the date of submission ng kompletong dokumento to support the application. Kasi hindi 'di ba? Since this is a refund, medyo stricto ang BIR. So kailangan ninyo magbigay ng complete submission of requirements and documents. Within 120 days, bibigyan kayo ng refund. In case of full or partial denial, na-deny kayo. Okay, hindi kayo inaprubahan for the TCC. Or failure on the part of the commissioner to act the application, hindi na-aprubahan. Kumbaga, hindi na process, hindi na napansin ng commissioner. Anong gagawin nyo? Within 30 days from the receipt of the decision, kung gininay man, ayan, or after the expiration of the 120-day period, you may appeal the decision or enacted claim for the Court of Appeals. So sa CTA kayo punta. So it's either naglapse na yung 120 days, wala pa silang decision, or wala talagang decision on the part of the commissioner or hindi nilagi So pwede kayong umapila sa Court of Tax Appeals. Okay? Filing or return of payment, kailan ba kayo magbabayad? Ayun. Within 20 days after each month, monthly. Okay? And 25 days following the close of each quarter or quarterly returns. Monthly, 20 days. Quarter, 25 days. It should be filed by authorized agent banks, revenue collection officer, okay, sa BIR yan. Duly authorized municipal treasurer. May mga online filing naman tayo na pwede na ding magbayad online. Okay? So may website naman ng BIR that makes our work easier kasi may online payment system. Okay? Hindi na tayo talaga need na pumunta sa BIR for the filing. Okay? So I think that's all for the input tax. Okay?